Hello and welcome to this demo on the point of sale application. So I'm going to walk you through the various features of the application. To begin with, you're going to access the application from where it is installed. At the moment, I have my custom domain where I have uploaded the application. So you're going to provide a username and a password. Then the system allows you to have multiple outlets. So I'll pick one of the outlets that I have, or one of the or multiple companies. So I'll pick Zamitas, then I'll say sign in. So once I sign in, I'll get a dashboard which will show me activities to do with sales in general. But again, we are going to look at this much later. We're going to revisit this and see how it works out. Now, the system is made up of two parts. That is what we call master records and transaction records. So I'll start with the master records. So for master records, I'll begin with settings. Then I have categories. So within this category, this is where you create all the categories of your items. So I'll add a category called tiles. So I have a category called tiles, and I can have another category called granite, and so on and so on. So I can be able to add as many categories as possible. Once I add the categories, they'll be able to appear on this list over here. So I can edit them or I can delete them if I need to. Then of course, all the tables have features that enables you to export this data to either CSV, Excel, PDF, or even send them directly to the printer. So that's categories. After categories, we have products. So this is where we are going to create our product. So once you click on that, then you say add product. We are going to specify the category of the item. So we are putting these as tiles. Generate barcode, no, because the tiles have a barcode. Otherwise, if the tiles don't have a barcode, I would say yes. So it will automatically generate the barcode. But since they have a barcode, I'll say generate no. Then I'll put the barcode. Let me say 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. That's the barcode for that item. Then I'll say this is 300 by 300 uh, black tiles. Maybe I can give them name of the brand, maybe Sage Ceramics, Sage Tiles, and so forth and so forth. So it will depend on the actual naming. Then the unit of measure, I'll measure they are going to be sold in cartons. They're not a bundle item. Bundle item means items that are sold together. For example, when you're selling tiles, you can sell tiles with grout or with tile glue or things like that. But again, you might also decide to sell them as separate items. Then you have tax type. This has VAT. This one is not serializable. It means it doesn't have a serial number. But if I'm selling things like TVs and mobile phones, then they have serial number. So I'll say they are serializable. Then the buying price of this tile, maybe say we're buying it at 900 and you're selling it at 1500, and the reorder level is when it reaches uh, 20 pieces. Then I'll say save. So I can't be able to save that. Then I can come and add another tile. Let me just add another tile. Maybe say this is now 33445566. Then maybe this is 400 by 400. Such ceramic tiles, and they could also have some part numbers. You could also include that. It will depend on how you want to do the labeling. These are also measured in cartons. They are not bundled. They have VAT. They're not serializable. We're buying these ones at 1300 and selling them at 1800. The data level is 20 boxes, and I add that. So this is how you can continually add items over and over until you're done. So once you add the item, you can be able to see they have been added into the list. So we have created a category, now we've created a product. The next thing we might need to do is to create our points of sale. So points of sale allow me to be able to have multiple points of sale. So maybe say I have cashier 1, cashier 2, cashier 3, cashier 4, depending on how big the shop is, you can be able to also create those different points of sale. So I'll simply say here, I want to add a new point of sale, and I want to call it cashier 1 main branch, something of the sort. It doesn't matter your naming principle. Once you have added it, it will be able to appear on the list. Then after that, we can also manage customers. So customers are the people we have working customers, which is created by default. Then we can add all the other customers who we are operating with. They could be contractors, they could be just generally regular customers. Maybe we are a distributor and then they are a retailer, so we will be able to add all our customers from down here. So what I'll do is I'll simply say add a customer, then I'll pick the customer type is this individual, then the home outlet is that, then the customer name I'll say this is maybe say Jumba Construction Company. Then from the customer, I'll give them a credit limit if I need to. I can put the physical address, the postal address, I can put the email address. I can also put the mobile phone number. Then if they are a one-time customer, I'll specify. If they are a regular customer, I'll specify also this is not a one-time customer. Then if they are a natural person, there's an ID number. Of course, even if they are a business, there is a business registration number. Then we have the PIN number. Now this is important when we are going to be integrating items into the application. So I'll save that, and that customer will be added successfully. You can be able to see the customer is in the system right now with all their details. So from the customer, we can add their biodata. We can give them discounts. Say, for example, in the tiles that you've given for this particular customer, we want to give them, we call this one 300. Just type the name. Then we want to, this discount expires maybe say in 3 months' time, and you're giving them a discount of say 100 shillings. So if it's a percentage, I'll specify percentage. If it's not a percentage, I'll simply leave it as is. So this will mean this is the value. So whatever the selling price of this item is 1500, but for this particular customer, you're going to give them a discount of 100, and then that means that for this particular customer, they're going to be buying these items at 1400. So I'll save that. Then you also have payments. Payments, we'll look at it is when they buy things on credit, then they come to pay later on. So we'll be able to settle the payments from here. Then the statement over here will be able to show me what this customer has bought over a period of time and how much is outstanding if there is anything. So for now, they are a new customer, so nothing is outstanding, but we're going to make a transaction and see how this works out. Then we also have suppliers. So for suppliers, these are the people who are suppliers with products. So let's say, for example, you have a supplier called Such Ceramics who are supplying us with tiles. The physical address I'll probably say is Mombasa Road at the river. The postal address I'll make a guess. The email address I'll say info at surgeceramics.co.ke, for example, and the mobile phone number is 0722 000 and the credit limit is 0, which means they can give us credit as high as possible. So I'll save that, and I have that supplier added into my system. Then the other permanent record that we are maintaining are the users of the system. So within the users, you can come here. I'll be able to get a list of all the users who are currently existing on the left hand side over here. But if I wanted to create a new user over here, I'll simply say cashier 1. I don't know if I have cashier 1 over there. Now we don't have cashier 1. Then I'll simply say the name here is Richard, my name, Onyango. So let me assume I'm the cashier 1. Then last name is not a must. Password, I can put a password of my choice. Then I can put the email address of the user. Then I put the telephone number. This is used when they have forgotten their password. They used to reset. Then down here, I can decide if they're a system administrator, which means they have all the privileges in the system. Otherwise, if they're not a system administrator, then I can decide to give them privileges as necessary. So I can give them all privileges. I can select all. It will be able to allow them to perform everything on the system. Or alternatively, I could just come say on admin, they're able to do A and B and C. And on finance, they can do A and B. And on inventory, they can do A and B. And then on reports, they can view reports 1 and 2 and 3. So it will depend on really how you want to be able to manage that particular user with their privileges. So for now, I'll just make this one a system administrator. Then if you require the user to change password immediately they log in so that they don't complain that you knew the password, you could tick this box, because as you're creating the account, it means that that you know the password for that particular account. So when they log in successfully for the first time, then most likely what you're going to do is require them to change a password, so they are the only ones who are going to be able to know what the password really is. So I'll leave that out for now. So this one again, as I said, overrides all other privileges. So once I said they're a system administrator, it doesn't matter any of the privileges that they have not been given. They will be able to access all the other portions of the system. Then I'll save that user. Mobile phone number is in use. Okay. So I'll save that user, and when I come here, I'll get, sorry, I have to refresh this. I'll get my cashier one. It's Richard here. They are cashier one, they're created. So once I have that user created, then I can attach them to an outlet. So I'll pick that user, then I'll say attach them to an outlet. So depending on however many outlets we have, we can decide wherever they're going to make their sales from. So I'll simply save that, and they are going to be able now to access that particular outlet. So if I come here, you'll see on the outlets here, we have attached this user Richard to Cashier One main branch. So they can be able to sell at that particular point of sale only, no other point of sale. So those are the master records that we have as far as the system is concerned. So next, I want us to look at the transaction records. So those are the master records. So for the transaction records, we will start with purchases because, of course, before us to be able to sell some things, we must have them in stock. So I'll come to transact over here, then I'll say purchases. So this list allows me to be able to filter purchases that had been done before, and it also allows me to add a new purchase by clicking on add order down here. So when I click on add order, I'll select my supplier is Such Ceramics. Then I'll specify the items that I want to buy from them. I have 300 by 300 tiles. Then I also have 400 by 400 tiles. Then from here, I can click on the quantity and specify the quantity that I'm buying from them. Then I can also specify here the quantity that I'm also buying from them. So I can be able to add as many items as possible. If there are any specific terms on the purchase order, I'll specify the terms here. This is 100% payment on delivery. So I'll save that purchase order, and the system is going to save that particular purchase order. So when I come to a list of my purchase orders, I can be able to filter out by the ones that were done today, and I'm able to see that the purchase order is actually down here, which is Such Ceramics. So I can edit it, I can print it, I can email it, I can cancel it, or I can approve it. It will all depend on the workflow that we have designed as far as the system is concerned. So now once the purchasing of the items has been done, the next thing is to receive the items that were purchased. To receive the items, I'll come to transact, then I'll say receive items. So from there, I'll be asked, I can have multiple warehouse. At the moment, you only have one warehouse, which is called main warehouse. Then I'll be asked for the delivery note number of the item. I'll specify the delivery note number. Maybe say this is test 002. Test 002. Then I'll be asked which supplier is delivering. I'll specify Such Ceramics. Then down here, I'll be given only the purchase order for Such Ceramics that have not been delivered fully, or they have been delivered partially. So I'll pick this one. Number 5 is what we had added. Then click on add item. It will be able to list for me all the items that were existing in that particular order and their total value. Now, then from here, I can be able to specify the quantity that we received. You remember we ordered 30, but we might have received less. So I can come here and click here and say instead of 30, I say I received 25. And instead of 25 here, I received 20. So it's possible, and they say, okay. So maybe upon inspection, we realize that 5 boxes were defective, and also 5 boxes down here were defective. So we only received the ones that didn't have any issue. Now, the system also has a way of integrating the process of invoicing with delivery, because in some scenarios, when a supplier delivers some products to you, they usually come with the invoice already. So the system is designed in such a way that it can actually allow you to be able to perform those 2 steps as one single step. So at the moment, that is what has been integrated here. So that's why you can see it's asking you for the delivery number and also the invoice number, because it knows that at the end of the day, this delivery comes with an invoice and it's due on that. So once I'm done with that, I'll simply say save received goods. It will receive the goods and generate a goods received note, which means now the goods are inside our stock. So that is the purchasing process. Once you create the products and you create the suppliers, then you can go to transact, click on purchases, add an order, place the order. Then once the items are received at the warehouse, receive them back in the warehouse. Then from there, you can be able to transfer them to the various outlets that you have. So for you to make transfers to the various outlets, come to transfers over here, then come to stock transfers. You'll be able to get a list of existing transfers over here. If you filter, I don't have any, simply say add new. Then specify where the items are coming from. They're coming from a warehouse, which is main warehouse one, and they're going to an outlet, which is maybe say cashier one. Then they're issued to, you can specify the person they were issued to and who is the store's controller. If you have a store's controller, you can also specify that. Then from here, you can specify the items that were transferred. So I'll say 300 by 300. Then I also have 400 by 400. So say here I transferred 5, and here I also transferred 5. So I'm removing 5 from the warehouse to that particular outlet, and I'll save the transfer. So it will be able to save the transfer. Um, well, I think the version of recipient I'm using is a bit outdated, but I'll fix that in a short while. So it will also be able to print for you the stock transfer form. I'll fix that in a while. Don't worry about that. So that is how transfers are done. So if I want to check the various items within the various locations, I'll be able to see that for these particular items, this is actually how they have been distributed. So let me just show you that. So when I come here and I say POS stock summary as of today, and I'll pick my branch, I'll be able to see now for 300 by 300, I have 5 items. I was given 5. There was no opening balance. I was given 5. There is none that has been returned, none has been sold, and 5 is what is actually remaining at that particular location. But if I wanted to see generally overall, I'll go to master stock sheet over here. I'll say as of today, and it will be able to give me where these items are. So for example, the 300 by 300, um, oh, that's master stock sheet. That has not, well, at least it gives me the items wherever they are. So for this, it doesn't matter where they are, but I didn't have any at the opening phase. I purchased 25, I've not sold any, so I'm still having 25 in total. They are not returned outwards, they are not returned inwards. But again, there's a report that actually shows me where the products are. Sorry, where the products are. This uh, should be stock list. This is stock list as of today. So it will be able to tell me exactly where each product is located. Well, I don't know why I'm having a challenge with that. So probably look at it and see why it's not giving me that. But generally, that is the process of purchasing. You purchase, you receive, then you transfer. Then after that particular process of getting the items into stock, then we have sales. Sales are the operations that we perform on a daily basis. So for the sales, I'll also pick the outlet where I'm selling from. I'll pick the customer who I'm selling to. I'll begin with walk-in customer, and I'll pick the 300 by 300 tiles. So you'll see the price here is 1500, and I can change the quantity here. Maybe this one bought 3, and I can add the 400 by 400 and say here they bought 2. So you can see the prices, they have not been given any discounts on the prices. So once I'm done, I can just scan the barcode and the items will appear here. So for example, if I just type the barcode, this is the barcode here, and I press enter, you'll see it adds it automatically to the list without having to type the name. So again, it's also integrated with the barcodes. So as you scan, the items just come within the list. Then from there, once you have scanned all the items that the customer wants to buy, you'll click on add payment over here. Now we have multiple payment options. They can pay via cash, via check, via credit if you allow them to buy via credit, and also via M-Pesa. So for this particular case, let me assume they're going to pay cash and they've paid 10,000. So it means that if they pay 10,000, their balance is 100. Now I can either print in with a small PDF printers, or I can print with an A4 printer. So for now, I'll just demonstrate with a small PDF printer. So I'll uncheck that particular box and I'll say save sale. Once I say save sale, you can be able to see it will generate the small receipt printer and it will send the item to the printer straight away. I don't have a printer attached to me, but you can be able to see that this is how the receipt would be able to look like. Okay. So once I make that sale, it clears, then allows me to make sale to another customer, and I can be able to continue this process over and over again. Now, also here, I can be able to say, for example, I had a customer who had picked some things, maybe say 300 and also 400. Then they have decided to go and pick something else and have not finished this operation, and other customers online, I can actually hold this transaction. So it is going to be held so that I serve the next customer. Once the next customer has been served, if the other customer comes back, I'll simply say retrieved held sale. It will give me that sale that was held. I'll click on add it back, then it brings it back to my list as it had been stated, and I can continue serving that particular customer. You can also be able to put the computer in full screen by clicking here. So it will be able to put the entire application into full screen so that now you're not distracted with other things that are happening on at the background. So that's how we make our sales. Then also we have we have spoilages. So for spoilages, this means that when items are spoiled, we can be able to record those spoilages. For example, they were damaged, they're expired, they have been damaged by rodents, they've been stolen, and so on and so on. We can be able to record that so that now the items are gotten rid of from our inventory. So again, from here, I can specify the quantity, the item, the category, and then I can narrate what that category was all about. So this one is essentially just a tool that helps us to be able to know if the stocks don't reconcile, exactly why did they not reconcile at that time. Okay. Then let me sell for, I've made a sale for customer on cash. I want to make a sale for now my customer who accesses discount. So I'll come here, I'll say sell. Then I'll pick my outlet. Then I'll pick my customer here who is Jumba. Then on Jumba, there's a discount I gave them on 300 by 300. So you can see I've given them a discount of 100. So in as much as the retail price is 1500, for them I'm extending them a price of 1400. So if they bought 10 quantities, so instead of 15,000, it will be 14,000. So I can come there, say make payment, and they paid that via cash, and I'll say save. It will print the receipt and so forth and so forth. I'll just cancel that, then I'll come back. Now I want to sell on this to this customer on credit so that I'm able to show you how, after you've sold it to them by credit, how they can be able to offset their account and how you can be able to view their statement. So again, I'll just pick the customer over here, Jumba. I'll say 300 by 300 and 400 by 400. So here I'll pick, I want to sell them 20, and here I've sold them 5. Then I'll say payment. But on sale here, I'll simply say I'm selling them to them on credit. The 37,000 is on credit, the all of it, and I'm going to charge them the account directly. Then I'll save that. Of course, it will be able to generate the invoice. This is actually now an invoice, not a receipt, so to speak. So this is what is going to go with the items. Now, if I come back to the customer's account, who is Jumba, so customers, and I pick Jumba construction, and I come to payments, you'll see they have an outstanding payable of 37,000, similar to what you had put. So if they make their payment, and I'm assuming this is going to be done later on into the future, I'll pick how they have paid. They'll probably pay by M-Pesa, and the reference number is this, and they have paid maybe say 23,500. Then I'll simply say auto distribute, post the payment. It will post the payment. Of course, also print a receipt. Then if I come to the account again, you'll see that now they owe us 13,500, and you can continue paying it like that. So if I come to the statement up here and I specify maybe from the first of this month to today, it's not much. I'll be able to see that we issued them an invoice of 37,000 and they paid 23,000, and of course the balance that's outstanding is 13,500. And in terms of aging, this is a recent debt because it is less than 30 days. So again, also depending on how many on how many days the invoices are outstanding, it will be able to tell you in real time as you visit the customer's statement. The same applies to the suppliers. So if I come to my supplier, I have this supplier called Such Ceramics. They delivered things for me, and these things have not been paid. And I believe if I come to this, I should be able to get that yes, they delivered an invoice of 48,500 and that has not been paid as yet. Also, in terms of aging, that is what we are owing them. And of course, at the top here, I'm able to see that particular summary. We started with zero, they have invested 48,500, we have not paid anything. Then, of course, now we have a closing balance of 48,500. So, what if we wanted to settle this customer's account and so that this money is actually paid out? What you're going to do is you're going to come to finance, then we'll come to payments. Then here I'll say add a new payment because this window will allow me to view payments that have been made in the past. Then from here I'll specify the date of the payment, which is today. I'll pick the supplier to be paid, who is Surge. Then up here I'll click on this add invoices icon and I'll be able to see the outstanding invoices, which I'll tick and say add. It will come on this list. Then from here I'll specify how much I want to pay. I might pay everything or I might want to pay less. So for this particular case, let me just assume I'm paying everything. Then I'll be asked the cost center that is taking care of that, the payment method that I'm using, and which account am I paying from. Of course, these are defined on the chart of accounts. Then the check number, I'll also specify inside there. Then I'll save that payment. Now, the system will save the payment and also prepare a payment voucher. Now, I have a problem with the what do we call it, the PDF printer I'm using, but I'm going to fix that in a short while, and I'm going to demonstrate for you how these documents come out as. So when I come back to the customer's to the supplier's statement, this is Such Ceramic in this particular case, I'll be able to see that when I come to the statement now, we should not owe them anything else. So you can see now we don't owe them anything else. So we started with zero, invoices were received, payments were received, and now the closing balance is zero. Now it has done this in reverse. Ideally, it should have started with the invoice and the payment, but I think it's because it was looking at the date, then the reference number. But again, those ones can be fixed. So I believe that the invoice should have come first, then the payment down, then everything should have just aligned properly. And also in terms of aging, you can see that has gone away. So that is how we handle our customers, our suppliers, and so forth and so forth. Of course, we also have other types of payments that don't require invoices. So in this particular case, like we can say they are petty cash payments. Maybe say we want to give a transport to an employee to go from point A to point B. I'll say, come here, say add a voucher. I'll specify the voucher date is today. I'll specify the cost center. I'll specify the supplier. This is supposed to be an internal supplier. The payment mode was cash. Cash doesn't have any reference number, and you're paying it from maybe say petty cash. Then here we can reference and say maybe say one. This is maybe say transport. Sorry, transport for Richard to and from town. The account charge here is maybe say transport. I think they have transport, or well, I can say well anything, and here maybe Richard was given 500. Then I can be able to add all the items that apply to that particular petty cash, save the voucher, print it. Well, yeah, I'll fix this, save the voucher, print it, and then that goes on. So once I do all the transactions, then it means all my balances look good. Now we have done what we call mini transactions, uh, uh, transaction records. That is purchases, receipts, and sales, and of course payments for our suppliers and petty cash payments. So now once our cashiers have sold, at the end of the day, we need to generate reports to be able to see exactly what they sold. So for that, we can get it either on the dashboard. We can see from the dashboard directly. Is going to show today only how have we sold things. So I mean there might not be much here, but of course you can see that I have sold between 12 and between one. There's some cash, there's some credit. There are some that were sold on Two Rivers, some were sold on main branch. Items that are best selling are here. My cashiers, I only have one cashier who actually sold everything else at 73,700. Best moving categories are tiles, followed by carpets, and so on and so on. So generally, this will just give you the general performance as far as today's sales are concerned. But if I want a detailed report, I'll come to reports here. Then I'll say daily sales. Then from daily sales, I'll be asked from which date to which date. I'll assume I want the current date, which is 24th today. Then I'll be asked which outlet am I looking into. I can pick an outlet or all of them. I'll be asked which user do I want to look into. I can pick all the users or all of them. I'll be asked how do I want to group. I want to group by user. So let me start by grouping it by user. So when I generate, it will tell me today cashier one has sold cash of this, no M-Pesa, credit of this. The total they've sold is this. The other that is system admin, rather the user, and this is the outlets where they made the sales at. So on till one they sold so much. On to river steel they sold so much. So this is the much that they have sold today. I can also decide to group it by date. So if I group it by date, it will tell me on this particular date, this is how the users made their sales. Then I can also go ahead and use a point of sale or an outlet. So based on this outlet, this is how the users sold. So I can be able to group this report in several many factors. So once I have this report in place, now is the time for the cashiers to bring in the money to the manager who now does the banking on their behalf. So for that operation, we'll come to transact, then we'll come to not transact but finance, then we'll come to banking. Then on the banking side, we'll be asked which outlet are we dealing with? Let me say I'm dealing with cashier one. Which payment method are you dealing with? Maybe say let me say I'm dealing with cash first of all, and I'll say filter. So this one will give me all the cash transactions that they did. There's one for 9,000, another one for 14,000. So I'll click on this tick at the top here. It will check everything for me. Otherwise, I can just check them one by one if there are some that have issues. So here it will give me a total that these are two transactions totaling to 23,900. Then I'll be asked to bank the money. For me to bank, I'll be asked where do I want to bank the money? I'll say I want to bank it in KCB operations. Narration, I'll simply say this daily banking for the sale. Then I'll be asked the reference number. Of course, I went to the bank and deposited the money, so there was a deposit slip. There was a deposit slip number. Then I'll be asked, how do I want to post these transactions? I can post them as a group transaction, which means this is going to be just one transaction of 23,900 into the bank. Or if these were individual checks, I would say single, so that each check is posted one by one. So it will depend on the nature of the payment method you're working with. So in this case, I'll say grouped and I'll say bank selected. It will do the banking. Okay. I think they should. Well, there's no error. I don't know if it's network. Let me check if it's network. So I think the issue is my network, but or on this particular second, but that's how we do the banking, and now the monies are going to go into the bank directly. So that is how we will do the banking as far as the system is concerned. Then we have the chart of accounts. So the chart of accounts here tells us how we can be able to group our accounts together. I think it's my internet that has failed. So yeah. So let me just record the other version once I resolve this.